Hello again and welcome everyone. It's time for another installment of Mustard Hub Voices Behind the Build. In these episodes, I speak with the people building, backing, and running better workplaces. I'm your host, Curtis Forbes. Welcome to today's fireside chat with our guest, Gonzalo Sanchez. Gonzo is the founder of Everlast, a digital health company that helps people unlock their stress to live healthier, more fulfilling lives. Everlast's core belief is that stress doesn't just live in your head, it shows up in your body. And by combining biomarkers, wearable data, and lifestyle insights, the team connects these dots and delivers personalized plans that work for each member. And before launching Everlast, Gonzo led marketplace operations in the telemedicine space, building and scaling clinician networks. Prior to that, he spent nearly a decade at Uber and Bird, where he built high-performing teams and launched marketplaces across multiple regions. Welcome to Voices Behind the Build, Gonzo.
Curtis, thank you so much for having me.
That's a mouthful. You've done everything. and you're now a founder.
Had some fun. But yeah, definitely excited to be here and share a little bit more about what we're doing and my experience.
Very excited about it. So this conversation is actually going to be a bit different than many that we've had in the past on Behind the Build. I think a lot of our guests are here to talk about things like HR tech and AI and compensation and total rewards. But we're going to be talking a lot about stress and all the ways that it impacts people, including and in the workplace, right? Because that's what we're all about here, the future of work. But before we get into all of that, how did you end up in the business of stress? Like, what is the journey that got you here?
Awesome. So I would say, look, I've always thought of myself in my career as someone that was mentally strong, right? I was like,
Yeah.
if I can think through it, I can power through it, everything is possible. And that did work out for a number of years and allowed me to be part of high performing teams, but also build high performing teams. And it wasn't until maybe I started getting a little older and younger kids that just thinking that I could power through things stopped working, right? And the body
do that to you.
the body started, sending signals, and that usually comes in the form of inability to sleep or being just tired but wired all the time, gaining weight. And that's when I really started thinking, okay, there's got to be something here that I can just think my way out of it. And the more I learn about myself, the more I learn about what my peers were going through, one way or another. Also exploring what can we build in the health and the wellness space. That's where we are today, and really excited. The more we learn about stress, the more excited we get about the opportunities that it presents.
I love how stress excites you, right? I'm obviously that's sort of a distillation of everything you said, and probably an unfair characterization, but it's nice, right? It's nice. You're working on a problem that we all have, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how sometimes it does take having kids to really crack that nut for all of us who are mentally strong. Have that 5-year-old who really teaches you that maybe you're not as strong as you thought you were.
100%. And I think that the exciting part about what we're building and why stress is like, and I agree, I do get excited about it, but why I think is really exciting is the technology that we have today, our ability to understand it better, to transition away from stress being this just psychological thing to more of a physiological thing, that it's in your body, it's not just up here. That is really exciting. And when we talk to scientists in the space, they are also learning more and trying to understand this area of health that really can make a ton of difference on our day-to-days.
Yeah. And in the workplace, obviously, which is probably one of the biggest stressors for most people. So you've now founded Everlast. Why Why Everlast? What drove you to build your own company? And tell me a little bit about the origin story of the name.
Yeah. So, okay. Hang on. This is a good one. And I'll try to keep it together. But um, the founding story of Everlast, I worked, so you talked about my career earlier. I worked in the telemedicine space for a number of years during the pandemic. So imagine being in telemedicine during the pandemic, very busy. And I got to participate in giving access to folks through telemedicine, but I also got to see that so many of the options out there for someone to get healthy is go online, push a button, get a prescription drug delivered to your door on a monthly basis. And um, I'm not anti medication, but I just found that hey, there's more that we can do for people. Obviously, my own experience with going to the doctor every year and saying, you're okay. And then, but I don't feel good. Like I am tired. I am groggy. My back hurts. I'm too young for my knees to hurt like this if I had a few beers at night. Like all these things that were just off. Um, and then trying to put together, okay, what do I actually know and what have I actually done in my life that can help us build something? That's where Everlast started. Over the past couple of years, we've done around a series of um, testing and meeting people and understanding how do they think about their health, where can we help them, what are the different ways that we can get someone to feel their best for the for like in the long term without necessarily just pushing a pill to them. That's how Everlast started. The name, very specifically, I think that is one represents something that it's for the long term, but
Yeah.
it also is a play on words with a good friend of mine that was my mentor. We went through the Uber and Bird journeys together that ended up passing away a number of maybe I think 3 years ago. His name was Everett. So this is a my homage to him as like, hey, we're not we're not able to do this together, but I get to remember him and honor him as we get to build Everlast.
I love that, man. I tell my kids all the time, I'm always with you even when you can't see me, you know? And I love that. And I think that that's a very very cool name. You point out the really interesting, I guess the I don't know if a dilemma is a good way to put it, but maybe the something striking about telemedicine, right? That maybe makes it more of a band-aid, right, than a long-term solution. So how is Everlast, maybe describe in some detail how it's different than some normal telehealth programs out there, like what separates it from the other solutions that help folks out when it comes to their mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about telemedicine and options out there, most of them, and I think that largely driven by where technology has been over the past decade and where it is today, you go and it's symptom based, right? I am
Yeah.
fat, here's a pill for you to lose weight. I am anxious, here's an SSRI for you to feel better, right? And so everything is compartmentalized and nothing connects the dots. Today, we have an internal willingness to actually build something that is more cross functional across different parts of your health, but
Yeah.
also technology today allows us to do this. And that is like a super exciting place to be building right now. So what we do at Everlast is we one help you understand how stress shows up for you very individually to you, right? So for example, for you and I right now, Curtis, maybe this podcast for you is just another day at work. For me, I was thinking about this, maybe I was stressed about it for a little bit. So we need to understand how stress shows up in our lives that is unique to ourselves. So we
Sure.
help you with that. We also look at your data. So we look at data from wearables, but we also look at specific biomarkers that you get from blood labs that can tell and paint that picture of your stress. And the third thing that we do is we connect you to someone on our care operations team that has a meeting with you, gets to know you, gets to understand that Curtis is a CEO, a founder. He's also a father. He has a house, he has these commitments. So when we build your roadmap is actually something that fits you and your life, and it's not just this catch-all work out 5 times a week and take these supplements, right? And we have the ability to do that at an extreme level of precision that your plan, Curtis, will work for you. That doesn't guarantee that it will work for me, but that's a good thing. So I think that that's
Right.
where we're mostly different from anything out there. Our ability to connect these different areas of your life, your data, your lifestyle, your goals, a care team that we put in your pocket so you can also text them at any time and use that as something that builds this roadmap that gets you to feel your best over time.
Well, I mean, I'm already sold. We still have a half an hour to do, but that's I joke, but it's a really powerful value, right? And it's so unique and so personalized. And you're right. I mean, stress shows up so differently for everybody. Um, Everlast, focus specifically on stress. Emotional regulation is that foundation for better health, and it's in this stress. While I know it's something we've all experienced. Tell me, let's define stress. What does it do to the body and the mind?
Yeah. And this is an interesting question because stress generally gets a bad rap. And if you're stressed, it's bad. And that's not necessarily true. So the way that we think about it and with the way we articulate stress is your built-in alarm system, right? So when something is happening, your full system gets stressed and that starts creating a series of changes in your body. So for example, right now I need stress to be present so I can be focused, so I can be engaging, so I can hopefully say things that are useful for your audience, right? But if I bring this state of hyper arousal to dinner and then to my kids bedtime and then to my own bedtime and then tomorrow at breakfast and rinse and repeat for 10 years, I am in this state of my alarm is just going off, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what happens when you are stressed is not just that, oh, I am busy here in my head. Your hormones start fluctuating, your digestion may be deprioritized, and
Mhm.
all these changes that happen in your system influence what you need for a specific part of your day, right? So right now, my system may not be focused on digesting my lunch, right? We're focused on let's have this conversation, but at
Right.
some point, I need to use my body to repair itself. I need to use my body to digest something I ate earlier. I need my body to just rest, come back to baseline, enjoy life, enjoy what I'm doing. Um, so that's I would say that that's how we think about stress. That's the way that we also try to help our members understand it, because oftentimes what happens is people think that stress is a busy calendar, and it's not just that. Stress is
Yeah.
also poor sleep and poor nutrition and lack of movement, and maybe even more importantly, lack of connection with other people.
That's actually a really great point. Tell me more or differentiate it from emotional regulation and even dysregulation. What does that mean? And what do those states look like? Like, how do they manifest in an individual?
Yeah. So emotional regulation basically means your ability to understand when your system is firing up these signals and live that alarm going live and living through that period, but also then having the ability to come back to baseline. So if I'm emotionally regulated, I know that this busy meeting that I have tomorrow, right, is gonna end tomorrow, and after that, I can come back to a state where I am more relaxed, I am breathing better, I can go for a walk, and I can come back to baseline. If I'm dysregulated, I've been thinking about this meeting tomorrow for a week. I haven't been able to sleep. Then I went to the meeting, and after the meeting, I was like, oh my God, I thought about this and this happened. And now they're thinking about, and my system is in this revving motion that never stops. And if you're dysregulated for an extended period of time, that's where your system is confused. It doesn't know what is happening, and then all of these other downstream health issues start popping up.
Curious what. you bring up a good point about the a meeting or whatnot. I could see these things pop up so much, so frequently, often, right? And be exacerbated by work, being at work, working with people who make you uncomfortable, doing things that make you feel uncomfortable, or that are out of your comfort zone, right? And so, I imagine there's probably some pretty extreme lack of focus, productivity,
Mhm.
uh, that stem as a result. Is
Yeah,
that accurate?
100%. And one thing that is curious about just how fascinating our bodies are, like oftentimes also that you may feel stress and you may be triggering all these responses in your body for things that are not even real. You may be thinking about, this person may be in the meeting and they always look at me like if I don't know anything, right? That may not be even real, but you're already revving up your body, your system, your hormones are shooting up. Like all that is definitely something that then shows up at work. And honestly, because we're spending so much of our days at work, the boundaries are a little bit more blurred today between work and life and everything else.
Yeah.
It definitely comes into play at work. And a lot of what our members tell us um, really has to do with like their day to day and their day to day at work.
Do you think that people are more or less stressed today than they have been in the past? What is it about our current lifestyle, in your opinion, that causes this?
So definitely yes, I would say, and I was also reading some literature on this earlier. But back in the day, I think, and there's so many things, and I love this topic. But um, even as early as the early 2010s, right? Like a lot of people were, when you ask them, what are you stressed about? It was work and finances, right? Work and finances. And
Yeah.
today you are stressed about work, finances, you're stressed about violence, you're stressed about the political climate, you're stressed about the actual climate. And all these things that
Mhm.
are in our face all the time are putting us in this state of chronic stress at all times. So definitely more stress. And I think that when it comes to maybe trying to make the connection with work, I think a lot of what we are seeing today, not just from the research that is happening, but also from the conversations that we've had with people, we had hundreds of these conversations, is that modern life has blurred all the boundaries, right? So um, and it's not only even exclusive to perhaps hybrid work or work from home or working in person, but there are no boundaries, right? You are working while you're relaxing, watching Netflix, while you are being a parent, while you may be being a spouse. And it's just happening all the time. So folks don't have those boundaries that also allow them to restore their systems, right? And yeah, so I think we're going to talk a little bit more about AI as well. There's a bunch of stuff that also I think AI is causing when it comes to stress that I think we just need to be. And I love this conversation. I know we're going to talk about it, but also just like the responsibility that then falls on leaders to help
Yeah.
build people up and companies that can thrive in this environment.
Man, you just so many things, I think, in there was just like a black box, right? There's so much stuff in there to even talk about, and talking about the boundaries. I mean, certainly social media hasn't helped either. All those things that you talked about that are so front and center, whether it's climate, political climate, your friends, your family, all of these things, right? We have social media that puts it right in front of our face. And then we're also seeing on social media all the people that we work with
Yeah.
right in front of our face, right? All the time. So it's hard to really make that. It's hard to disconnect. You also brought up a really interesting thing about working from home or hybrid, or on site. I think a lot of people feel like remote and hybrid work gives us more flexibility and control over our time. But for a lot of people, could these situations cause even more stress for the workforce?
What we've observed is that if someone isn't intentional about it? Absolutely. Right. Because yes, it is giving us more flexibility. But like I was saying earlier, it's also completely erased all the boundaries that existed prior to this in what used to be called work life, right?
Right.
Like, and what happened in those boundaries was very important for your nervous system and for your health to come back to baseline. So maybe 6, 10 years ago, you would drive to work, and during that drive, you would listen to music, or you call your mom, or you call your friend, and those are all things that feed into your nervous system so that you can be in more balanced. Today, yes, we have a lot more flexibility, but we have more flexibility to at times do more laundry, clean a house, sort out what is for dinner tonight, like work on and getting the kids from school, like which are all very important things, but they just bring a reality that now everything is together, right? So I think that for us, and I work remotely. My team is all over the U.S. Like I love the flexibility it gives us, but at the same time, it comes with us having to be a lot more intentional about, hey, this spaces that we have. Let's make sure that we um, think about how they play a role in a specific part of our day and not in another, and try to separate them as much as possible.
You also had an interesting comment about AI, and I know that human connection is super important in so many ways. I can see how having that could be beneficial for coping with stress and relieving it. If not at least helping to avoid it too. Um, you think there are ways in which technology that's supposed to make our lives easier is actually making our quality of life and maybe then the stress we experience even worse, especially in terms of the workplace? Like particularly interested in whether you have thoughts on this as far as AI is concerned.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that a number of components to my answer. One is, I think that AI and technology is really good. I was reading a research paper actually by ADP
Hmm.
that was shared with me by someone I met at the conference a few weeks ago. Um, and in that paper, they talk about stress in the workplace and the importance of, like, when you love what you do, how you can thrive at work, right? And I think that AI, particularly AI today, has allowed us to do a lot more of the things that we like, and all the little things just let AI do it, right? Which is
Yep.
which is really good. And I think that it allows us to do more of what we love. The more we do, the more of what we love, the more we thrive at work. But at the same time, I think that what is happening right now is that the expectation for your output is a lot higher. Right? You can just do it with AI. You can just do it with AI. So that report that would have taken you a few hours or maybe a couple days to think through and put it away and then go for a walk and come back and have a new idea and change your formula and then come up with the insight, now it has to be done in, like, now.
Yeah.
So there is this pressure for our output to, like, I don't know, 5, 10x, while we also are doing more of what we like. So there's a balance there. I think that the way we implement AI, there's a ton of AI in our workflows, in our day to day, but we also make sure that we find that time for us to have human conversations.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, hey, let's actually just talk this through before we just go and ask ChatGPT to tell us. Because though AI has made so much um, make progress over the past couple of years, it's still very much at times is going to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I do think that, particularly when it comes to building high performing teams, what you want is people to tell you what you don't want to hear. What you want is to be like, hey, I disagree with that. Hey, I don't know. And what about this? Well, if this doesn't work, well, can we look at it from another? And that's when the magic happens. And I don't
Yeah.
think AI is there yet.
Not yet. I there's tech out there that can really improve your quality of life. I know that Everlast is a great example, and I kind of want This obviously isn't going to turn into an infomercial, but I want to know, how does Everlast support users in beginning to shed stress and improve their health? So we've talked about identifying it, right? And identifying how it manifests. How does it support people in beginning to get rid of it or make things better?
Yeah, so a lot of what we try to do is um, show people. One is like we it's important for you to explore and to understand, to see your data. So we are a data driven, we have a data driven approach to showing you how stress is impacting your life,
Okay.
and then it's starting to incorporate small changes to your day to day, right? So that may mean at times to help you, hey, these are breathing exercises that you should just have after tough meetings, right? So you
Hmm.
have a tough meeting, you already know they're on your calendar, right? You already know that that meeting is going to be a little hard.
Sure.
Maybe before you jump on that meeting, you do 10 squats, right? That helps dampen the impact of your cortisol during and after that meeting. So there are a lot of small steps that we help people implement, and we put them in their plan, and then we have the team behind the scenes that you can just text at any time. We have 24/7 access to a care team
Oh,
that
wow.
if you have questions, if you feel that you need more support implementing a specific technique or tactic, or hey, I don't think I can do the workout that you guys prescribe for today, then the team is there to adjust that plan pretty much in real time as you evolve and as life evolves. So that's how we think that we can really come in and support you, right? And be next to you. We want to become your partner in this journey, um, and be there for when life happens, right? Like sometimes either you get sick or your kids get sick or the car breaks down, and if you just have a PDF plan there that is static, then nothing changes.
I love that. I didn't realize that there's that team there to really provide that extra support. So, beyond Everlast, if you were going to talk to some of your members, your customers, or some folks who maybe haven't yet signed up for it, if somebody wants a better quality of life where they're happier, healthier, where they face less stress, where do they start? What do you tell them?
I would say start with your sleep. Like
Mm.
sleep is so important. I know that there are one way that someone articulates sleep is like try to become a professional sleeper. um, which is interesting because we have some of our members are parents of young kids, and sometimes it's like, man, don't we can't really go and tell a parent, hey, sleep more. But if you can, the number one thing is prioritize your sleep. And prioritizing, what does that mean? One thing that we also tell people in our programs, and part of our marketing material, is like stress is not just in your head. So the first thing is get out of your head. Don't think about sleeping better. Just do things with your body that will help you sleep better. For example, what does your sleeping environment look like? Is your room dark? Is your room cold enough? Right? Do you have a sleeping mask if you need one, or do you have earplugs if you need one? Like set up your environment so that your body can just show up and fall asleep, and you don't have
Yeah.
to think about it. Right? You like that's a big part of it. The other thing with sleep is what your body really needs is sleep consistency. So try to go to bed at the same time every night, try to wake up at the same time in the morning, or maybe 15, max 30 minutes, before or after that bedtime scene. What often happens is, oh, I'm going to sleep 8 hours, but yes, tonight you go to bed at 11, tomorrow you go to bed at 2 a.m., the next day you go to bed at 9. Your body just doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I would say sleep, move, and look, we don't use the word exercise as much as possible, because exercise is usually taken as like you gotta go and work out and do all these things. But if you can start by just moving, right, which means get out of your chair, do a quick stretching exercise for 10 minutes, or go for a walk around the block, take a take a meeting on your phone as you walk around as you walk around your backyard. That is the second one. Recover. So try to recover, try to breathe, look up, to distance, try to um, spend some time outside. And the fourth thing I would say, so it's sleep, move, recover. And the fourth thing, which I think is critical, is connect with other people.
Yeah.
We live in maybe the loneliest time in history for the individual. Reach out to that friend, reach out to that family member. Um, don't overthink it. Just send a text message, make the call. Loneliness is such a huge epidemic that we have right now, and what it does to your body is it's like smoking a bunch of cigarettes every day. If you feel
Wow.
the feeling of loneliness does to your body what cigarettes do to your body. So I would start there. You don't need anything. Of course, we can teach you all this at Everlast, but if you were to start anywhere,
Start there.
sleep, move, rest, and connect.
What about at work, right? Should what should employers begin to do when it comes to doing better by their people, when it comes to their mental, and physical health and well-being?
And I love this. I think that creating a safe space is probably the one that is going to make the biggest impact. And what I mean by safe place is a place where one, people are recognized, that they understand what their work is, that they are they are kept accountable for their work.
Hmm.
I think that setting up that safety at work is probably the most important thing that I would say, because and I don't come I have built teams, and I'm not what where I'm coming from is from listening to
Yeah.
members that come to us that happen to be employees, right? So creating that safety space, where that safe space where they can be themselves, where they can be recognized, where they know what they need to do, where they know what is going to be rewarded. That I think is so crucial. And then having leaders that live those values and they're open to their teams about what they expect, I think just makes a huge difference. There's there's some like very specific tactical things that I personally like doing. So one of them is, for example, make your calendar seen by everyone, right? So if your team knows what you're working on, then they understand what you're doing, and they understand maybe what's important to you.
Yeah.
When you talk to your teams, talk through your thoughts. Don't just share the outcome of what you spent a bunch of hours thinking about. So your team now understands and can see you and how you think and how you go through ideas. So then they can understand, okay, this is how I engage with Curtis, and this is how our relationship can get better. So I would say um, start there. But safety is something that just like the core, the key word that comes to mind from what our members tell us and their experiences at work.
I love that. We've had a few guests on Behind the Build even discuss financial wellness and how employees, who lack emergency savings or retirement accounts or, sufficient funds to comfortably even make it to their next paycheck, how they struggle at work. And these individuals may, become less productive or experience higher absenteeism rates and have higher turnover rate among other issues, all due to the stress that financial insecurity they're experiencing. How do you think performance issues at work are really just symptoms of stress? And how do you think that stress is caused or amplified by the employer?
Oh, I would say, I don't want to say all the time, but very close to all the time. If you think about just that, what you mentioned there, Curtis, around financial stress, right? Like what that then causes is this person is not sleeping well because they're thinking about, they go to bed and they're thinking about the fact that they're not going to
Yeah.
that they're not going to pay the bills next by the end of the week. So they're not sleeping well. Then if they don't sleep well, they show up to work and they are grumpy, right? Or they are disengaged, right? Hey, what's going on here? It seems like you're not focused on this. Like, are you looking for something else? And now they're like, no, but I haven't slept. I haven't slept because I'm stressed. And now work is putting more stress on that. And you can see how those vicious cycles are super easy to get in. I'd really think that it's on us, the leaders that are building these companies and that are making sure that the company meets their goals and targets, to also care for the people in it and having real conversations. A lot of this is just caring about your employees, caring about your teammates, and not necessarily you yourself taking care of it, but sometimes is, as you build a relationship with your teammates, is ask, maybe you ask Jennifer to check in on Allison, right? And encouraging and fostering the personal relationship between your teammates can make a huge difference when it comes to performance at work that is driven by stress outside of work.
Now, so let's talk about a little bit about ROI. I'm going to come at it from sort of a backwards angle here. I mean, there's a lot of people in business world who push back when it comes to rolling out wellness programs, whether personal or financial, right? Or providing any kind of benefits or perks beyond, basically what's required. They see it as another cost, right? I mean, people are generally our biggest cost center, and then typically their benefits are the next biggest cost center. Um, what do you think the real cost to businesses that don't invest in their people and their well-being? I mean, how does saving money by not offering these things negatively impact those organizations?
Yeah, I think that, and I can see it because I've also talked to many folks in HR teams, also CFOs running and owning some of these budgets, and the concern is real. I think that where I come from is, well, your head of HR or your VP of operations burning out and leaving the company is very expensive, right?
Mhm.
So, and if they get to leave because they are burned out or because they don't get the support that they need from you, because and now their teams are really stressed and their teams don't know what to do, like that adds up very quickly. Um, what I think is important when it comes to that ROI is to work in partnership with the partners that you bring on to support your employees, but also to work with your employees in that, having that like that open communication. Like, are these benefits helping you? Are they allowing you to thrive at work? And then is there any data to back it up, right? And I think that interesting thing where, again, with some of the technologies that exist today, like there are ways that um, we can show that person. And mainly we show the employee, we show our members, right? Like, look, you're sleeping more, right? Your deep sleep is, you're more restored now that you're implementing some of these things that we're recommending. Like, your body is recovering better. Now you can show up to work and actually think about first thing in the morning. It doesn't take 4 hours to lock in. um, but yeah, when it comes to ROI, I think it's for us, obviously, but it's a no-brainer. But it really is about, do you want people to come in and clock in and push the button, or do you want them to be thinking more long term, thinking more specifically, trying to come up with the new ideas that are going to actually move the needle? That's where I think wellness comes in, stress comes in. One last thing, maybe specifically about stress, is that what stress does to your body at times can be compared to like a cold or a flu, right? So you're super stressed, you don't want to hang out with people, you want to eat like more calorie dense foods, you just want to be snuggled in, like all that are the symptoms of actually being sick. So the more stressed someone is, the more quote unquote sick they are. The more
Yeah.
sick they are, the less productive they can be at work. So um, today there are plenty of options. I think that some things like Everlast, but also some things like making sure that your teams are aware of the type of wearables that they can wear to understand how they're doing are also super important.
Yeah, well, let's shift a little bit. I'm curious about that. I mean, are there other technologies you see as being game changers when it comes to like really improving the quality of life? They don't need to be health or workplace specific. I'm curious what you see out there.
And I am definitely looking a lot into health products. I do think that there are some really fun tools that can help you just kind of see how your body works. I don't know if you've heard or done any of the glucose monitors, for example. Like, super interesting to see how food impacts your
Yeah.
your system. And some of these trackers, I mean, you wear it in your arm, within seconds of having that cheeseburger, you can see the spike, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you can understand like, hey, these are the type of foods that make me have this constant energy throughout the day. That is one of my favorite ones right now. And then when you combine that with other data, then is when you really get insights, which I think is what we're all after, right? We don't just want data for the sake of data, um, unless you're a consultant. But if not, you want insights. You want to know what to do with it.
Does Everlast have plans to integrate with external sources like that, where it can ingest more information or data in order to help deliver, more unique things?
Oh
I
yeah,
guess.
for sure. We actually part of the experience. If you have a wearable, you connect one of those, and we know in real time that you had a crappy night of sleep yesterday. So we may just send you a text and say, "Hey, Curtis, take it easy today." Or we may say, "Hey, Curtis, try to go to bed a little earlier today to optimize for what's happening next week, because we know what's happening next week because you told us that." Um, yeah, and our goal is to continue to increase our ability to capture data from your day to day, which I think is that black box that the existing uh, healthcare doesn't have. Right? You see
Yeah.
your doctor once. Let's say that you see him twice a year, right? Which would put you maybe like the 5% of Americans. But let's say that most of us see the doctor once a year. That doctor has no idea what happened in the other, 364 days from when we saw them. We do come and we tell them, but what does that even mean, right? With some of this data, we like Everlast can see and can start building you this evolution of life and health that goes with you as things happen.
That's incredible. Out of curiosity, and talking about some of the support that you offer, right? Does it ever get to a point where your support team isn't qualified or licensed to discuss certain things with an individual? Is there ever a boundary, rules, regulations that come into play?
Absolutely, absolutely, and there's definitely from a regulation, there's scope of practice, right? That sometimes we can't go in specific places. Um, we are not trying to take over your entire medical support, right?
Yeah.
What we actually do for some of our members is you can come to us, Curtis, and say, "Hey, next week I'm seeing my primary care physician," right? And we can tell you, "Okay, Curtis, in preparation for that meeting, you should ask them this, and this questions that we've known and we talked to you about, so that they can give you some of that guidance that you already, um, some of the guidance that they should give you, but you already have a relationship with them. We're not here to try and take that relationship over. We're here to add on to it, hopefully make your life easier, hopefully educate you on things that matter, so that we can make your relationship with that practitioner also more effective." 100%, 100%. And we really try to um, be there for what you care about, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that is not something that is not with us, right? Sometimes, for example, in some cases, we have members that are women that are maybe going through either perimenopause or menopause, right? And there's only so much that we can support them with until we say, "Hey, look, this is the best women's health practice that we've heard of, that we've done a research on. You should go and talk to them." And then if we can make the connection, we make the connection. But we are also a place where you can get resources on the things that you actually need.
I love that. Do you have any predictions for, or on human wellness and how it pertains to maybe the workplace? I mean, for example, do you think that we'll see more or less employer investment in these wellness plans? Be more, or will there be more or less human connection as AI becomes more prevalent? Will things be, or how will things be different in 10 to 20 years? I'll take anything you can give me.
Man, I think that there is a world in the future where One, your there are solutions like Everlast that know a lot about you on how your health is evolving in your day to day. There's also technology that is being built around, not just, okay, I'm going to wear this watch, or I'm going to, send a voice note to my coach on the phone, and that's going to get recorded and
Yeah.
be part of a program. There is technology that's being built around my house. So if I had a good night's sleep, maybe the curtains go up earlier, right? And
I
things like
like
that
that.
just happen automatically. I do think in my bed and where I am spending my time, energy, and resources in making sure that that world that we're all building towards and that we're creating technology for, um, doubles down on human connection and prioritizes the fact that yes, there are going to be all these things that are going to do all these things for us, and then we need to have a way to foster connection with people, connection in real, like in person, digitally as well. um, I talk a lot about with investors generally about the future of technology, and just the fact that we can't do that doesn't mean that we should be doing that. um, but yeah, I wanna grow up, or I want my kids to grow up perhaps in a world where their health is more present.
Yeah.
It's easier to understand and do something about it, but at the same time they can also spend time with their friends, spend time with their
Yeah.
families, and actually enjoy life.
I like that picture you were painting about, if I had technology that could read certain markers and instantly know, how to turn on or off, things. And it's funny, 5 or 10 years ago, we'd popularized IoT, right? The Internet of Things, and we have smart homes now that could operate, in this sort of symphonic way, right? All of the different parts and pieces. And, I kind of see you describe that world where we have smart people, um, meant differently than smart people. But it sounds like a very cool world if, if handled obviously responsibly. Um, What's your advice for up and coming business leaders? You've been one in multiple organizations. You're a founder now, helping folks deal with their stress and how it affects them in their workplace. What would be your single most important piece of advice that you have one thing that you can tell them? You're on an elevator up to the top floor and it's about to open, and you watch them walk out the door. What is it you say?
I would say lead from the front. 100% lead from the front, be the example. Your team will follow, your team will do what you do, not what you say. you know
Yeah.
Follow through. If you don't have to send that email at midnight, don't send the email at midnight. um, be open, I would say. But yeah, it's more about, I think that, like, genuine leadership is something that the business world needs, but the world just in general needs right now. People who are true to their values, who can understand how others think, and what others bring to the table. I hope if there's one advice, that to be it, right? And through that, make sure that you take care of your body, make sure you take care of your head.
Yeah. I think that's incredibly insightful, and very good advice. Thanks so much for joining me today, Gonzo.
Curtis, thanks for the time.
Yeah.
Great talk.
Also, big thanks to all of you for tuning into Mustard Hub Voices Behind the Build. Please like, share this episode, subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and visit mustardhub.com to learn more about how we help companies become destinations for workplace happiness and turn culture into a competitive edge. And while you're there, be sure to sign up to get started with Mustard Hub for free. Again, thanks for joining us. Until next time.